But copyright, most of the time they will ask you for proof. And how are you going to deliver the proof? Just because you're going to say, hi, use the name for the first time?
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief.
This is the smart thing to do. Thing is, when you look at copyright, you can do a lot of with copyright, but there are some situations where you need to consider another intellectual property. So in this video, we're going to talk about the copyright of your name or the name of your band. We're going to look at it, and we're also going to look at the other question. So yeah, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to the law, and then I'm going to sketch the situation, tell you your option, so you know what you can do in certain kind of situation. So as you can see, we change the layout. So here we have the drawing board, and here we have the law. So we have the law in Dutch, and we have the law translated in English. I'm not saying this is the best translation. I'm not saying you should use this, but what I'm saying is, when you're doubting something or you try to understand your situation and the law, try to look at the local translation. So when we look at it, this is the law, and here you see the translation of the, here you see, when you look at it, this is the law, here you see the Dutch translation, and here you see the translation in English. So let's look at it. So you see here, this is the English translation, and this is the official text of the copyright in the Dutch kingdom. So you see this is in Dutch. The thing is, when you look at the question, can I copyright the name of my band? You need to ask yourself, do you meet the requirements of copyright? Like I discussed in other videos, these are the requirements of copyright. So you can see it in here. Uitsluitend recht maken van een werk moet openbaar of geldige beperkingen. All those things. These are the things that you need to keep in mind when you talk about copyright. And when you look at copyright, here you see what kind of work can have copyright on it. So you see that in here. The thing is, a name can be copyrighted, but most of the time it doesn't meet the requirements of the copyright. Best thing which you can do is, when you have a name and you want to protect the intellectual property of it, is register as a trademark. So how does copyright work? So if you go here to a drawing board, you will see that when you talk about copyright, you always have A, B, and C. A is the work itself and the right itself. So let's say this is the right, and the rights you have, according to the law, you have the right to make it public and to reproduce it. So if you look at the translation, it said you have the right to make it public and reproduce it. So this is the right, and when you look at the right, you're allowed to make it public and you're allowed to reproduce it. Right? So this is the right that you have. But what you need to keep in mind is, when you look at the law, they give you certain kind of rights, but there are some limitations. So if you look at the right here, we need to look also at the limitation. So here, what are the limitations in the law? Because when there is a limitation in the law, it will limit your rights. It's simple. Right? The thing is, when you look at the copyright of your name of your band, if you do not meet the requirement of copyright, you do not get the copyright. So there is no right. So if you do not meet the requirements of copyright, there is no right. But there are things sometimes when you need to consider, okay, hey, I want to protect my name. Is it a better way to register it as a trademark? I'm not going in depth about that, but most of the time, when you have a name for your product or services, it's best to register it as a trademark. So if you have a name for a band, I would advise you to register as a trademark. It's the best way. It's not the cheapest way, but it's the best way. Copyright can be a solution, but most of the time, if you do not meet the requirement of copyright, you will not get the copyright. The thing is, here, C, in this situation, it's not really important to look at C, because you want to see if you have a copyright or not. or can you copyright the name of your band? So we just need to look at A. Technically, C is an other person or other company that want to use your rights or your work. B is you, so we call it the copyright holder. And the person is owner of the rights or is an holder of the right. Something I discussed in another video. But what you need to keep in mind is that if you are B and you want to copyright the name of your band, try to think of it this way. Do I meet the requirement of copyright? If not, let's look at trademark, what our options are. Thing is, when you register as trademark, it can help you a lot. And trademark registration is much more better, in my opinion, than a copyright registration. Why? When you look at trademark registration, as soon as everything is positive, you have a registration, and if someone uses your name, you can sue them. So if someone uses your name in an article, you can be like, hey, why are you using my name for this? You can send them a letter. But copyright is difficult because with copyright it's hard to prove that you have copyright. And even if you can argue that you have copyright a certain kind of something, but that doesn't mean you are right. What I'm saying with that is most of the time people will ignore other people that say I have copyright on the band name because they'll be like, hey, you cannot prove it. And that's the thing with copyright. When you look at name, try to figure out, is it possible to register as a trademark? When you do that, it's going to be much more powerful. So now if you look at the question, can I copyright the name of my band? Yes, you can. You can do that, but the question is, does it meet the requirement of copyright? That's another question. It is an option, but do you meet the requirement to get the copyright for that? That's the ask you need to ask yourself. So if I look at this question, most of the time I will tell people, don't think about copyright, try to think about trademark, because that's something where you can get your investment back. But copyright is not something that you can prove. Even if you're right that you can get copyright, doesn't mean another person will give you that right. It's not that the other person have to give you, but it's going to take a long time. And let me explain to you. If you register something as a trademark, you have proof that you have trademark on it. If you send someone a letter that they evaluate your trademark, that's a serious letter. But copyright, most of the time they will ask you for proof. And how are you going to deliver the proof? Just because you're going to say, hi, use the name for the first time? People are like, okay, how do I know you created it? Or you can register it, just use it as a proof. Then it's also possible, but I wouldn't recommend it. Think about it when you look at the name. Just focus on, okay, what's the best option? And in this, if you have a band, try to register it as a trademark. Yeah. So in this video we talk about, can I copyright the name of my band? It's possible, it's an option. But is it a strong option? No, not really. The best option is look at trademark. When you look at trademark, it can help you much more when you talk about name and other stuff. For your product or services, copyright is hard to prove. Even if you register it, people most of the time don't take that serious. But if you have a registered trademark, people will take that serious. I'm not saying people are not taking copyright serious, but I'm saying when someone sends you a letter, you will read it and you also look at the proof. And if I were you, I will look at the proof and see, okay, is it a valid proof or not? So if you look at this question, it's an interesting question, but I wouldn't go the copyright way. I will go the trademark way and see what the best option is. So if you have question about this of copyright or other things related to copyright or trademark, you can go on the Discord and ask me directly. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be